Welcome to this resource from UCL Special Collections, made especially for Newham Heritage Month 2020. Hello, my name's Vicky Price and I work at UCL Special Collections. That's a department in the university's library services that looks after rare books, manuscripts and archives. I've put this resource together for Newham Heritage Month to help you explore the idea of heritage. In particular, we're going to cover what heritage is. We're going to look at where you might find it and what you might like to do with it when you found it. During the course of this resource, I will also point you towards some other useful online resources for exploring local or national heritage. So let's get started. So what is heritage exactly? Well, the word heritage is used in many different ways, which can make it confusing to understand. You'll find the term being used to refer to the heritage industry, museums, galleries, heritage sites like castles or historic houses and tourist sites. You'll find that it's also a word that is used to describe a product that is being sold by some companies, like heritage tiles or heritage coffee. Anything can be described as heritage by a company, and it's usually done to try and give the impression that the product is valuable, old, or somehow of a high quality. It is also an academic field, just like politics or engineering. People studying heritage will study subjects like archaeology, history, law, tourism. Another meaning of the word heritage is to do with the intangible or not physical, the idea of a personal or shared history and all the different things that can relate to that history. All of this can be a bit confusing, so let's simplify things and just take a dictionary definition of the word. Heritage is that which has been or may be inherited. If that definition is what we're going to take as the meaning of the word heritage, then we can think of heritage as something passed from one person to another, sometimes over a long period of time, something that is left or given to someone in the future. In this way, we can think of it as a bridge between people in the past to people in the present. So now we know what heritage is, that it is something that has been or will be somehow inherited. How do we find examples of it? Well, you could consider the more obvious examples of literal inheritance, whether that be objects passed on between family members or friends, property that is left from one person to another, or money. You could, however, consider things in a more abstract way. What about the values and principles that are passed on between generations or within a particular community? Can you think of a particular person from the present or past that has influenced the way that you choose to live your life? We can also consider responsibilities as a form of inheritance. This could stretch from the literal, such as the responsibility of caring for a member of the family or taking on a family business, to the more intangible, such as our shared responsibility to care for our planet, or the inherited responsibility of continuing a cause such as supporting a charity that a friend or family member has always supported. Finally, let's consider our traditions as heritage. Formal traditions, such as religious festivals, activities that are tied to particular times of the year, like May Day celebrations, or a Sunday roast, are all extremely important for many of us in terms of our heritage. There are also lots of informal traditions or more personal traditions that can take on the importance of being a bridge between ourselves and past loved ones. Cooking or baking seems like an obvious one. How many of us use recipes handed down to us from the people we love? So, we now know what kind of thing we're looking for when we're searching for heritage. So let's now have a think about where we can find our own heritage. This is a personal thing that cannot be defined for you by anybody else, but it's also a multi-layered thing. Your heritage will inevitably combine the personal and the shared, the local and the global. Think first about your own life. You might have precious memories of a person, a place or an activity. You might have physical items in your home that link to these things or these people. They are a great way of creating a bridge between yourself and those you love from the past. For example, I have an old pillbox hat from my grandmother. It's here. She's now passed away, and I don't wear this hat really because it's a very particular 1940s style and it's quite delicate. but I absolutely love having it on display, and I show it to people when I want to talk about my grandmother. It's a really good bridge between myself and my grandmother. Consider traditions that you participate in. Why do you participate in them? Is it because they are religious activities that tie in with your beliefs? And do you share this with others in your community? What about traditions that are less official or self-made? Why do they mean so much to you? Ask yourself these questions as you research your heritage. You might also be interested in finding a bit more out about your own ancestry. Perhaps you want to create a family tree, or perhaps you might already have one but you want to add to it. This is a fascinating way to discover your heritage, and there are lots of resources online that can help you with this research. Some of these are free, but some of them have a subscription fee, and I highly recommend reading up on these before paying for anything. There's a good website that gives a good explanation of the different resources and different options. There's a link I'm providing underneath this video and in the descriptive text of this video. So, have a think about where you want your research to take you. What part of your own heritage are you interested in, or do you want to find out more about? You might also want to explore museums and galleries, or local historic buildings, or open spaces and parks. While it might not be possible to actually physically visit some of these at the moment, many of them will have websites packed full of useful information, and some might even have online catalogues or image galleries of their historic collections. Even if you find just a single photograph or a single place or an object that connects you with your heritage, that could be an important part of the puzzle that you're currently putting together. Another great way of considering your heritage and that of your local community is through local architecture or your built environment. Memories are so often tied to the places in which they were made. Are there buildings that have changed over time that hold powerful memories for you? Or perhaps you remember buildings that are no longer standing? Or previous homes from your childhood? Why not try to find evidence of these online? I'll tell you about Newham's online resources as part of this video in a bit, but you might also find that local or national museums have great collections of maps, photographs and drawings that can relate to specific buildings or built areas. Have a look online. And finally, one of the resources you might want to consult are archives. This could be a formal archive like that that's held by your local authority library service, or an informal collection of documents or bits and bobs that you or someone you know has kept. But what exactly is an archive? Archives are collections of documents, whether physical or digital. They can be formally collected, cared for, catalogued and made accessible for researchers, like at Newham's Archive and Local Study Centre and at UCL. Or they can be something a little more personal, such as a stack of sketchbooks or scrapbooks kept together and added to over a period of time, or a collection of letters that were all sent to an individual and kept together. Everything in an archive is a primary resource. They are the real items originating from the time that they relate to, and they're usually not duplicates or publications or reproductions. This diagram only covers a tiny number of types of documents that you might find in an archive. To be truthful, you never know what you might find when you use an archive for your research. Some archives list their items in an online catalogue, and others require you to visit the archive itself and find items in their search rooms or reading rooms. All you need to know before starting research in an archive is what topic you want to research, and it helps if you can be really specific. For example, rather than asking about street parties in Newham, perhaps you have an interest in a particular street or neighbourhood during a specific time period. Archives can sometimes be thought of as boring because when they're packed away they don't look very exciting. And sometimes they have a reputation of being dusty records kept away from the public eye or secretly hidden. But this isn't the case, I promise you. Formal archives like that at Newham or UCL are there for people to access. That is the only reason they exist. We also make sure they are kept in an organised way in a clean, secure environment so that we can easily find what you're looking for and so that the documents can be kept for as long as possible in the best condition possible. Archivists who work in archives are always very happy to help you find things. You do not need to pay to access the archives in Newham or at UCL, and you do not need to be a historian or an expert on any topic. let's explore the Newham Archive and Local Studies Centre search room at Stratford Library. The search room is upstairs in Stratford Library. When you enter the room, you'll see the walls are lined with resources and reference books, and there are plan chests containing maps and larger flat items there too. There will be an archivist at hand to help you, and you can access digital resources on the computers. If you visit here, you'll be asked to hang your coat up and to ensure you do not bring in food or drink or pens or any other items that might accidentally cause harm to the items in the room. You will also be asked to handle the items very carefully, making sure that your hands are clean and that you don't accidentally lean on, tear or fold them. For more information about what exactly is held in the archive here, follow the link below. You can also find this in the description text on this video. Let's have a go at finding an item. What about records of bomb damage in East Ham from 1939 to 1945? Look for the relevant folder on the shelf, and inside you'll find extensive records. You might be more interested in looking at some of the many maps that are kept here. What about a comparison of Forest Gate Lane, focusing on St James's Church and a hospital which later became a school? And what about finding photographs? You can see here how useful an index or catalogue can be. If you find the item you want listed first, it is then far quicker to locate it on the shelf. This video shows us finding some photographs of Canning Town from the 60s onwards. Speaking of photographs, do you know about the Photographs of Newham page online? Here you can find a huge collection of digitised photographs. It is a brilliant resource to use from home and could be a perfect starting point if you're interested in researching Newham's past. Go to the link at the bottom of this video and find the link also in the description text alongside this video. There are many places that you could look online for archival resources to aid your research. UCL might be a good place to consider too. We have a website that will tell you the different kinds of collections held at UCL Special Collections, together with an explanation of how you might access these. Many digital resources are available online, including images of historic maps and even a small but very recently accessioned collection of oral histories from East London about its past. The best way to start your research here is to go to UCL Special Collections homepage and then to find the link for our digital collections. If you want to hear the oral histories, go to the digital collections page and search for Making East London Oral Histories. If you start researching your heritage, you'll probably find that you never really feel that you've finished your research. There isn't any right or wrong way of exploring heritage, and sometimes just finding things out can be enough. Research can be fascinating and satisfying in itself. But you might want to create something so that you can share what you have found out, and perhaps to share how you feel about it, or to invite others to respond. Newham Heritage Month is the perfect opportunity for this, as you will find a larger audience waiting to see what people have produced as part of this event. Find out more about how to contribute to Newham Heritage Month by following the address on the screen below me or the link in the descriptive text of this video. You can take part in lots of different ways, and it's entirely up to you. But I would recommend that you consider creating something that uses creative skills, like an exhibition, which could be a physical display, or more likely an online exhibition. You could do this with images and text, or you could put something together that makes use of art or music. Or if you don't feel very creative, how about inviting other artists to be involved? There is a great writing scene in Newham, for example. Do you know a poet who might like to create something in response to what you have found during your research? You might want to create a video, or a podcast, or you might want to hold an event online like a Facebook Live where you share your research. There really aren't any rules with what you do. The most important thing is that you feel you get to experience and explore your heritage, sharing it the way that you want to. Good luck!